everyone, this time we're going to talk about how to use the unit circle. So we've already figured out how to fill in our degrees, our radians, and our coordinate points. Well, that's great, but it's not so great if we don't know how to actually use the unit circle. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you do not already have a copy of the unit circle in front of you, whether that's printed or sketched, I would recommend getting that now. Let's get started. So what you need to know for today is that the x values of our coordinate points are going to be equal to the cosines of all of those angles. And the y values at the coordinate points are going to be equal to the sine values at all of our angles. Now, I'm not going to explain why. That will be in a different video, or you can, do some research on your own if you want to figure that out immediately. But for right now, I need you to know that x is the same thing as cosine and y is the same thing as sine. So really, in order to find the cosine, we are going to just find the x value at whatever angle we're working with. And to find the sine, we're going to find the y value. So how does that look in practice? Well, here's an example. Tell me the sine of 135 degrees. Really, what this means is just look at the unit circle and find the y value at 135. Well, let's do that. I found 135. I know that sine is my y value. So I look at my y value and I see a root 2 over 2. Well, that's my answer, and I'm done. So the sine of 135 degrees is root 2 over 2. The nice thing is, this answer is exact. If you were to type this into a calculator, it would give you, 0.707, some extra decimals on that. Now we know the exact number for sine of 135, which we prefer at this level of math. Let's do another example. Tell me the cosine of 7 pi over 6. Well, same sort of idea here. This time, this problem means find the x value, because I know cosine matches with x. So I look at my unit circle. I find 7 pi over 6. Then I look at my x value, which is negative root 3 over 2, and I'm done. Now again, this should match what we know about all students talk crap. Okay, I'm in quadrant 3 for this angle, and in quadrant 3 I know that tangent and cotangent are the only two things that should be positive. Cosine should be negative, which it is. I am good to go. Easy enough. So anytime I'm talking about sine or cosine, I'm just looking at my x value or my y value. The one thing you're likely to get confused is flipping which belongs with which. So because we say sine, cosine, tangent all the time, you're going to want to equate cosine with y instead of with x, because we typically say cosine second. Okay? Here's how I keep it straight. X, then y, that's in alphabetical order. C, then S, that's alphabetical order as well. So cosine comes before sine in the alphabet. That's why cosine matches with x and sine matches with y. Okay? One more sort of scenario here is that we can actually figure out the tangent from all of our coordinate points on the unit circle. So when we're talking about cosine sine, we can just look at the unit circle and we have our answer. Tangent, we're going to have a little bit of work to do. And that work is dividing y by x anytime we want to know the tangent of an angle, because tangent is really sine divided by cosine. This is something important that's going to come up later, so you definitely have to be aware that tangent is the same thing as saying sine divided by cosine. When we're referencing the unit circle, really we mean y divided by x. So let's take a look. tangent of pi over 3. So this means I divide my y value by my x value. So I check my unit circle. I'll just draw a rough sketch here. I know pi over 3 is the third angle in this quadrant, so that helps set up my coordinate point is 1/2 and then root 3 over 2. So now I'm going to do y, my y value, root 3 over 2, divided by my x value, divided by 1/2. And that's what tangent of pi over 3 is going to equal. Now, again, we have a little bit of work here. Anytime I divide by a fraction, I have to keep my numerator, switch to multiplication, and flip my denominator. Okay, so really we're just multiplying by the reciprocal of the denominator. I know my 2's are going to cross cancel, and so I am left with root 3 for my answer. And it is a positive root 3 because I am in my all quadrant. So everything is positive here. We'll do another quick example. What is the tangent of 3 pi over 2? Well, 3 pi over 2 is going to be this angle down here. So I know the point is 0, -1. I know tangent is the same thing as y divided by x. So I'm going to do -1 divided by 0. And immediately run into a problem. I cannot divide something by 0. That is impossible, so this is undefined. Or sometimes you'll see this symbol. So tangent at 3 pi over 2 does not exist. It is undefined. As soon as you know sine, cosine, and how to find tangent, you can use reciprocals to find cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Because as we know, sine and cosecant are reciprocals, cosine and secant are reciprocals, and tangent and cotangent are reciprocals. So this is why the unit circle is very useful for us, because we know all 6 of our trig ratios for all of the angles on the unit circle, which is super powerful for us in math and later on in math. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later.